Hi, folks. This is Garlic with the Living Medicine Project, and I'm recording this video today because for the last few years, for the last number of years, I've missed a couple in there, but I often will write out a kind of a solstice missive. So winter solstice is tomorrow, and for me, it's one of the most spiritual days of the year. I tend to spend a lot of time reflecting on the relationship of the light and the dark in life and how that relates to change, work, whether it's social change, environmental change, personal change, healing. Uh, and the message that I wanted to share today, I sat with this a few times, just really checking in with my heart to see what that message is and if it needs to come out, and it does. And it's not actually terribly coherent this time. It's not the same kind of story that I often have told. Oh, there's a kingfisher. Yeah, I'm here in Victoria, just down by the ocean side. So I apologize to those of you who look at my winterscape here and are maybe a little bit jealous because it's, I don't know, it's like 4 or 5 degrees Celsius. So not so bad at all by winter standards. But anyway, the thing that I wanted to share today about winter solstice that's really coming up for me here is the reminder. There's kind of a reframe, and I want to offer this as a reminder because the story of Christmas is an extrapolation of the story of solstice. In solstice, the solstice in many pagan traditions is seen as the rebirth of the sun, um, and it's kind of akin to the whole Jesus story. Um, and while there is a rebirth, there is a shift that definitely happens. Uh, today is a shorter day or a longer day. Tomorrow will be a shorter day. The day after will be a longer day again. So there is actually a point. It's like if you think about a pendulum swinging back and forth, there's a point where that pendulum stops and starts to swing in the other direction. And that's what the solstices are. They're the end of that pendulum swinging in either direction. However, the momentum change actually has already happened. And what I mean by that is that if you think again about this metaphor of the pendulum gets to one side and it starts to come down. And when it gets to the bottom, that's actually when the momentum shifts. That's when the decision gets made that we might have inside about the change, the healing, whatever we're doing. The change happens and it's unseen to the naked eye as the pendulum comes up even further until that shift until it stops, starts to swing back. And so I want to put that out there and just say, the decision to change has already been made. The decision to heal, whatever it is, has already been made. And there's a lot of work and investment that you probably have been putting into that. And until now, it's been unseen because that's what changes tomorrow. That's what changes with the solstice, is that work starts to become visible again. Maybe for the first time, actually, not again. And there's a piece where the stress response. I've been studying a lot about completing the stress cycle, reading this amazing book called Burnout, Burnout, Burnout by Emily Nagoski? I don't remember. I'm listening to it as an audiobook, so I don't see her name on the cover as often. But it's really good. I highly recommend it. What she teaches is about a lot of our frustration comes when we have a high level of investment and a low progress that we're feeling. And so I guess that's why I want to offer this frame about the solstice and about this being the peak of the momentum change is happening now. Because if you're feeling frustrated that you've been putting in a lot of investment and not getting a lot of progress, it's when the pendulum starts to shift that you're going to start to see that progress. And I don't know what that looks like for you. I don't know if it's changing habits, if it's whatever, some kind of self-care. It could be all sorts of things. And so I just want to offer this as a reassurance that you can take a breath and let that frustration, pressure drop. Just with the recognition that actually the first part of that work, as part of being in sync with the cycles of nature, the first part of that momentum change is often unseen. And even though that's frustrating and not terribly rewarding at first, there is some wisdom to it. And so I want to pose that as a question to you, maybe as a journaling exercise or talking over tea with a friend. Just like, what are the things that you've already shifted in your life that you're just starting to see now the results of that change? Because they're there. And the science shows, you don't hear me say that very often, the science shows that, that you can, just reduce your stress by acknowledging both that you're doing something difficult, because it helps to shift your expectations. Like when you're struggling, and you can recognize like, oh, what I'm doing is hard. That's why I'm struggling. And it actually brings a sense of ease, because you stop telling yourself it should be easy, because that's where the suffering comes from. But the other thing is that by focusing your curiosity on finding the things that have changed, finding even the small, small successes and getting a picture of those, getting a list of those, whether you write them out or draw them out or talk them out, doesn't really matter. Keep your focus on the positive changes that are happening. And that helps us to be happier, reduce our frustration, complete the stress cycle, and all of these things add to a healthier, happier us. So with that, I wish you a happy, healthy solstice. And yeah, it's never too late to plant seeds. If there are things that you want to have momentum shift in that you haven't gotten to yet, feel free to plant those now. Offer them to a fire, plant them in the ground, throw them in the snow, put them in a river, offer them to the ocean, whatever that is, put them out there, because change is always possible, and you never know how far the change is going to go. This new principle that I've been working on in my healing practice. You never know how far the change is going to go. And that's very exciting. So, yeah, I hope that you have a very fruitful exploration of this dark time of year, and I will talk to you again soon.